What I'm taking away from this is basically just trying to find something that is deeply personal to us and working with that instead of thinking about, okay, what art will sell or what will work, just creating from a space of, okay, what is helping me and what works for me, which we, especially in this age when everything is about parading our lives on social media, and similarly that follows into art also, that everything needs to be for show. In that time and space, I think it's a very important reminder to ourselves to create for ourselves, because that's basically what art was meant for. And when we do that, you're a great example of that. It will come through and people can see that when you're putting your heart into it.
Yeah. It's a challenge though, right? Because you also do want to sell.
Yeah.
So, like, I was at a show recently. I wasn't showing anything, but I was talking to another artist, and she had these beautiful. She did a lot of illustrations and like nature illustrations, mushrooms and things.
Yeah.
And she had made like the state shape
Hmm.
with mushrooms. And it was really cute. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. She's like, you and everyone else think so. Like, that's what sells. She's like, but all this other stuff is what I love to do. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have pieces like that too that are, very local to my area. And because she was in a different state, but very local to my area. And the same thing, it's like, that's what sells. So I have to have lots of that always at shows in order to make money, right?
Yeah.
But make it worthwhile. But the stuff that I really hope people will notice is the other stuff.
Hopefully, we'll slowly get there. I don't remember where I heard this, but like this 80-20 rule of eight or 70-30, something like that, of, making art for selling and then making art for yourself, having that balance that
Yeah.
you have to make money. Yes, that's a very real thing. Plus, you also want to kind of feed your creativity alongside that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. Like we talked about, for almost 12 years now, you've been working in the role of a digital marketer for Cover Story Media, an online publishing company that you've co founded with your husband. And you have previous corporate brand marketing experience with various companies. And now, as a professional artist, you've established a beautiful community who love and support your work. Considering that you have this amazing background, what is some actionable advice that you can share with the artists as to how they can attract and nurture a community which resonates with their work and supports them by purchasing their work?
I don't know if these are going to be totally actionable, but they're tips. How about that? So we'll see. I think the first thing, which we really talked a lot about already during this interview, is to be authentically you. Like, don't be afraid to be who you are. And I think it's so easy to say, I want 20 likes or 200 likes, however many, I don't know. It depends on your following as to how many you might be possible, but we want more likes. And at the same time, like we were just saying, you also want to make the things that make your heart sing as the artist. And so I think really the 80-20 rule you were just talking about is probably a good one, of not being afraid to be authentically you at least 80% of the time, because and hopefully the thing that sells came from your heart too. I know it did with me. So it's just I don't want to make it over and over again.
Yeah.
But it is me. It is very me. And so I think one thing would just not be afraid to be yourself and be confident in that, because it's hard in this world, but no one else is like you and no one else will make art like you. So embrace that. The second thing, goes right into what we were just talking about, which is just understanding there's trade-offs, between money making items and things that you love to make, and making sure you have time for both, because otherwise it's not going to feed your soul and keep you going.
Yeah.
Saying thank you to your audience, whether that's as a group saying, wow, I reached 700 followers, and so I'm going to say thank you and do a little giveaway, or whether that's just responding to comments, or whether that's on social media or an email or a text for someone that's local. Could be various different ways, but I think you don't build community if you don't participate in the community. So That's something that's been really important to me and has built trust over time. So yes, Jane, who commented on something yesterday and I've never heard of her, it would be easy to not reply to her because that's another thing on my to-do list, right? But Jane may become my customer in 6 months if I reply to her now and next week. And, so I think like any other business, right? Like it's important to build trust with customers and to create a relationship over time.
Yeah. We forget about that.
One more thing. Don't be afraid to toot your horn. Well, it is definitely a balance, right? Like you don't want to be overselly and always pushing things, but at the same time, if you don't ask, no one's going to do it. So,
Yeah.
you have to be your best cheerleader.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of it. That comes with the time thing I was talking about earlier in regards to confidence too. It's harder at first than it is years later. So
Yeah, it does get.
But don't be afraid even when you're new. Do it.
Yeah, definitely. That's one thing I think I was a part of this community, and the one big takeaway from that community was calling myself an artist even before I was ready to call myself an artist. And once I started doing that, I actually started believing it. Up until that point, it was like doubts, but like every time I would say it, I would feel more confident saying it. So definitely, it does help in the beginning to recognize that if you're creating art, you're an artist. Simple as.